1968. Mekong Delta. Rain hammered the jungle canopy. 5 shadows crawled through mud, their radios dead. Extraction point compromised. Mission broken. A trembling hand drove a needle into skin. Not art. Not pride. A vow burned into flesh by fire and ink, sealing what none could speak. The circle closed. The star stayed hollow. Return. No matter what. 2 men drowned in the river crossing. 1 took a bullet meant for another. Only 3 limped back to base, marked forever. Present day. The same faded star lay hidden under an old man's sleeve, forgotten by the world. But when arrogance collided with silence in a roadside diner, the past wasn't just memory anymore, it was reckoning. The bell above the diner door chimed. Morning light spilled across worn linoleum, faded booths, and the faint hiss of bacon. Harlan Brooks sat alone in the corner, stirring sugar into black coffee with slow precision. He was 81, tall once, now leaner, shoulders bent by years but not by weakness. His hands, scarred and steady, moved with the certainty of habit. The spoon clicked against porcelain, a sound sharp enough to cut the hum of small talk. Even that small sound felt deliberate. 2 men entered the copper skillet. Big frames, dark shirts stretched tight, eyes scanning like they owned the place. They moved with the cocky ease of men fresh from a training floor. Mason Cade saw it first. Ink on Harlan's forearm, visible where his sleeve had slid back. A closed black circle, a hollow star at its heart, blurred by time. Cade smirked. You get that out of a cereal box, old man. The words dropped like a coin in water, ripples spreading through the room. Harlan didn't answer. He kept stirring, then set the spoon carefully on the saucer. Steam rose, curling between him and the 2 strangers. Eli Navarro stepped up beside Cade. Looks like biker ink, he muttered, loud enough for half the diner. Or stolen valor. Guys fake that stuff all the time. Harlan lifted his mug. He sipped, calm and unhurried. No shake in his hands, no sign he'd heard a thing. Cade planted both hands on the table. Coffee trembled in the cup. I asked you a question. The old man lowered the mug, placed it gently back. He looked at neither of them. Behind the counter, Joe Carter froze with menus in her hand. She had worked this place 20 years. She knew trouble when it walked in, and trouble was leaning over the old man's table. Cade leaned closer. You gonna answer, Grandpa? Or do I call base security and let them decide? Navarro laughed, short and nervous, trying to cover the silence. But silence stayed. Harlan sat as if carved from stone. The stillness itself felt heavier than words. Cade tapped the table, then touched Harlan's forearm. His finger pressed against the tattoo. Ink, faded but unbroken. The diner dissolved. Harlan saw rain, a jungle night cut by lightning. 5 men crawling through mud, radios dead. A whisper echoed from memory. Return. 72 hours, no word. We move. Ink burned into his skin, black and raw, marked by a friend's trembling hand. The smell of earth and gunpowder vanished. The diner returned. Cade's finger still rested on his arm. Harlan pulled back slowly, expression unchanged. But his eyes had shifted, for a second sharp as steel. Cade's grin faltered. He masked it with a louder sneer. Thought so. Fake. Navarro glanced around. People were watching now, families, truckers, even 2 MPs off duty. No one laughed. Joe wiped her palms on her apron. She slipped her phone from under the counter. Typed fast. Copper skillet. 2 soldiers hassling old guy. Weird tattoo. Could be JSAG? Cade raised his voice so everyone could hear. You know what happens to fakes? MPs drag you out. Cuffs. Judge laughs at you. His laugh rang hollow, bouncing off quiet walls. Harlan adjusted his cuff. His fingers brushed the tattoo once. He lifted the mug again, drinking without a word. Joe's phone buzzed. A message from Sergeant Avery Knox, Fort Ashridge. Her eyes widened as she read. Do not let it escalate. If tattoo matches, stand by. I'm calling Alden. Her chest tightened. She slid the phone back, face steady, pretending to clean the counter. Her heart beat hard against her apron. Cade leaned closer again. Last chance, Grandpa. Some club you never joined? Something you Googled? His voice cracked faintly beneath the swagger. Navarro studied the old man's stance. Feet planted shoulder width, breath steady, chest rising in calm rhythm. The diner held its breath. Even the waitress near the door stopped mid-step. Plates cooled on tables, untouched. Cade pulled out his phone. I'll call MPs myself. His thumb hovered above the screen. Joe's gaze darted from his phone to Harlan's quiet face. She thought of Knox's words. One name burned in her mind. Alden. The door creaked as a new customer stepped in. They froze, sensing the air thick with tension. But all eyes were locked on the corner booth. Two young men stood over a veteran who hadn't moved. A waitress clutched a secret she didn't fully grasp, and silence pressed down, heavy as a storm about to break. Harlan set his cup down. Porcelain clicked softly against the saucer. Finally, he spoke. "Don't touch that arm again. No more. No explanation. Just a command. Quiet and immovable." Joe's phone buzzed once more. The last line still glowed on the screen. "General Alden is on his way." Harlan rose from his seat. He reached for his wallet, sliding a few bills beneath the coffee cup. His movements were calm, as though nothing in the room had changed. Mason Cade blocked the way. A shoulder pressed against the aisle. The young man's grin was sharp, hungry for a reaction. "Going somewhere, old man?" Cade asked. His tone dripped with mock authority. "You haven't explained that ink." Harlan met his eyes for the first time. The stare was level, measured. He didn't speak, but the weight of it forced Cade to shift his stance. Navarro stepped closer, uncertain. He caught the subtle angle of Harlan's feet, the way his body balanced. It didn't look like an old man bracing himself. It looked like training. Joe Carter wiped the counter, though her eyes never left the booth. She slid her phone open under the rag. A photo of the tattoo, sent quick to Knox with the name scribbled from the receipt. H. Brooks. Harlan bent to retrieve his jacket. The sleeve tugged back, showing a faint scar near the tattoo. The scar was sharp, curved, too precise to be random. Knox's reply came fast. Photo confirmed. Scar matches Omega-5 file. "Do not interfere," General Alden alerted. Joe's hand trembled. She locked the phone, pretending to straighten napkins. Cade's voice grew louder. "This guy's pretending. You know what the penalty is for stolen valor? Federal charge." He glanced at the room, searching for approval, but the room stayed quiet. Forks paused halfway. Even the cook had stopped at the grill, spatula frozen in his hand. Harlan eased the jacket over his shoulders. His fingers moved with practiced efficiency. The fabric settled across his frame like armor. Navarro frowned. The old man's breathing never wavered. Not once did he look cornered. "Let's end this," Cade muttered, pulling his phone. He tapped the base police line. "Time to let MPs haul you out." The old man turned slightly. His voice was low, gravel steady. "You'll regret that call." The diner stilled. Cade barked a laugh to hide the unease creeping into his chest. He pressed dial. Joe's phone buzzed again. "Hold. MPs notified but not to act. Stand by Alden." Her stomach twisted. Alden wasn't just any name. He was legend. Cade ended the call, smug. "Military police will be here in minutes. Hope you brought real ID." He leaned back, arms crossed. The bell above the door rang once more. 3 MPs stepped inside, boots striking the tile. Their faces gave nothing away. Cade waved them over. "Right here. Stolen valor case, easy pickup." But the MPs didn't move toward him. Their eyes slid to Harlan, then to Joe, and finally, back to Harlan. "Orders?" one asked quietly. It wasn't Cade they were addressing. It was the situation itself. The room shifted. Cade blinked, confused. "Hey, I'm the one who called." But the MPs didn't care. They held position, still and waiting. Their presence only deepened the weight pressing down on the room. Navarro's gut tightened. He whispered, "Mason, something's wrong." But Cade waved him off. Harlan slid his chair back into place. The sound of wood scraping tile was louder than Cade's words. Every detail seemed magnified. Navarro saw the old man's hand linger on the chair back. Not shaking, not weak. Solid, practiced, steady. Memory surged through Harlan's mind again. Night rain, pounding on tin. Voices hushed as a small team crawled through a flooded ditch. He could see Lieutenant Morrison holding the map, water blurring the ink. "If we don't make extraction, burn everything, including proof we existed." The order was final. 5 men pressed hands together. A needle passed between them. Each mark took 3 minutes, blood mixing with lampblack and river water. "Closed arrow," Morrison whispered. "Never open, never speak." It wasn't a unit. It was a ghost. Black budget. No records. No medals. The vision bled away. The diner returned, the MPs still standing silent. Navarro finally stepped back, unsettled. Cade clenched his jaw. You three waiting for something? He's faking. Do your job. The MPs didn't move. One leaned slightly closer to Harlan. Sir, do you need assistance? Respect layered each word. Cade's face flushed red. He turned to Navarro, whispering harsh. What the hell's going on? Navarro shook his head. I don't think this is what you think it is. Doubt edged into his voice. Harlan slipped his wallet onto the table. The leather was cracked, held by a rubber band. Inside, only a faded license and a single folded photo. He tapped the wallet once, then looked at Joe. A glance, quiet but deliberate. She sent one last message. Situation stable, MPs waiting, Alden needed now. Then she set the phone down, palms damp with sweat. Cade snarled. You think a rubber band wallet proves anything? You're finished, old man. But even his voice lacked its earlier confidence. The MPs shifted slightly, adjusting their stance. Not aggressive, protective. Navarro took another step back, almost colliding with a booth. Customers whispered now, low currents of unease. No one laughed anymore. Every gaze locked on the standoff. Harlan's voice cut through at last. Young man, sit down, before you ruin more than your day. Each word was a blade of quiet authority. Cade froze. For the first time he felt small, but pride forced him to stand tall. Navarro whispered, Mason. Enough. Cade ignored him, but his hands betrayed him, clenching too tight. The air grew heavier, charged, like static before lightning. Every second stretched longer. The diner seemed to wait for something inevitable. Then the bell rang again. A shadow fell across the doorway. Everyone turned. The silhouette was tall, shoulders squared. 3 stars glinted in the morning light. General Robert Alden had arrived. The copper skillet went deathly silent. Lieutenant General Robert Alden stepped through the door, his aide 1 pace behind. 3 stars gleamed on his shoulders, but his face carried the weight of decades. His eyes swept the room and locked instantly on Harlan. Recognition flashed between them, not surprise, but acknowledgement. 2 ghosts, meeting in daylight. The MPs snapped to attention. Boots clicked in unison. Even customers straightened instinctively, as if gravity itself had shifted. Mason Cade blinked, caught off guard. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came. Alden ignored him completely. The general's stride was deliberate, measured. Each step echoed across the tile like a countdown. He stopped at the booth where Harlan stood. For a heartbeat, silence consumed everything. The world narrowed to 2 men and the mark they shared. Then Alden reached for his sleeve. He rolled it up slowly, exposing his own forearm, a circle of faded ink, a hollow star in its center, blurred by age, identical to Harlan's. Gasps spread through the diner. The MP's expressions shifted from neutrality to something deeper reverence. Navarro's face went pale. Joe gripped the counter edge, knuckles white. She had expected rank. She hadn't expected this. Alden raised his hand in a crisp salute. To Harlan. In front of everyone. The old man didn't move at first. Then he straightened slightly. Decades of discipline surfacing. He returned the salute with precision that defied his years. Cade stumbled back a step. His pride, his confidence, all shattered in an instant. What is this? He stammered. Alden lowered his arm. His voice cut through the silence like a blade. This is something you were never meant to see. He turned, addressing the room. This man is Harlan Brooks. Task Group Omega-5, Operation Closed Arrow. The words landed heavy, final. What you mocked is not decoration. It's survival. It's blood. Alden's jaw tightened. It's a promise that cost 5 men everything, and 3 of us our souls. Whispers erupted around the diner. Customers exchanged stunned glances. The MPs stood straighter, faces carved from stone. Cade tried to recover, voice wavering. He's just some old man in a diner. The words sounded hollow, even to him. Alden's gaze snapped to him like a weapon-locking target. Name. Cade. Mason Cade, sir. The general's eyes narrowed. You just humiliated a man who spent 72 hours behind enemy lines, retrieving intelligence that prevented a massacre of 200 Marines. The room seemed to shrink. Cade's face drained of color. Intelligence so classified it doesn't exist on paper. Alden continued. 5 men went in. 2 drowned. 1 took shrapnel meant for the others. 3 crawled back through hell. He stepped closer to Cade. And you called him a fake. Navarro swallowed hard. He stepped forward, voice barely audible. "Sir, I apologize. We didn't know." Harlan's eyes flicked to him briefly. No anger, no forgiveness. Just the weight of a man who had heard apologies before and knew they changed nothing. Alden gestured to the booth. "Sit, Harlan." It wasn't a command. It was a request between equals. Harlan lowered himself slowly. Alden slid in across from him. The diner watched, transfixed. The general leaned forward. "When did you get out?" 73. Discharge was quiet. "Mine was 76. Alden said. "Couldn't shake it. Re-enlisted under different command." His voice softened. "You were smarter." Harlan's mouth curved faintly. "Just older." Memory flickered between them. Not spoken, but shared. Harlan saw Morrison again, the team leader, holding the radio as water rose. "Go. I'll cover extraction." Those were the last words Morrison ever spoke. Cade found his voice again, desperate. "Sir, we didn't mean—" Alden raised one hand. Cade fell silent instantly. "You didn't mean to disrespect a decorated veteran." Alden's tone was ice. "You didn't mean to harass an elderly man?" "What did you mean?" Cade's jaw worked soundlessly. Navarro stared at the floor, face burning. Alden turned back to Harlan. "How many years since you've seen another arrow?" 32. Reed died in 93. "Cancer." Alden nodded slowly. "That leaves us. 2 survivors, carrying the weight of 3 graves." Joe approached with fresh coffee, hands trembling. She set the mugs down gently, afraid to break the moment. "On the house," she whispered. Harlan looked at her. "Thank you." 2 words that held more weight than gratitude. She nodded quickly and retreated. Alden sipped, eyes never leaving Harlan's face. "Do you ever regret it?" Keeping the silence, Harlan considered the question. "Every day," he said finally. "But promises aren't negotiable." The general's expression tightened. Morrison would have been proud. Morrison shouldn't have had to die. The words hung between them, heavy with old grief. No anger, just truth. Alden set his cup down. "You know why I came. Figured it wasn't for the coffee." "I came because that mark means something," Alden said quietly. "It means when one of us is disrespected, all of us answer." He glanced at the MPs. "Sergeant, take Cade and Navarro outside. Wait by my vehicle." The MPs moved instantly. "Yes, sir." Cade opened his mouth to protest. One look from Alden silenced him. The 2 young soldiers followed the MPs out, heads bowed. The door closed behind them. The diner exhaled collectively. Alden leaned back. "They'll learn. Or they'll wash out." His tone suggested he didn't care which. Harlan picked up his cup. "You didn't have to do this." "Yes," Alden said firmly. "I did." He tapped his own tattoo. Closed arrow. Never open. But never forgotten either. The 2 men sat in silence again. Not awkward. Not heavy. The silence of soldiers who had survived what others couldn't imagine. Around them, the diner slowly returned to life. Forks scraped plates. Murmurs resumed. But every eye still flickered toward the booth. 2 veterans, marked by history, sitting across from each other. The world had moved on, but they never would. The door of the copper skillet stayed locked for 10 minutes. The air inside felt hushed, almost sacred. General Alden and Harlan Brooks sat across from each other, 2 relics of a war the world had forgotten. Finally, Alden drained his cup. He set it down with deliberate care. "Time to move." Harlan rose slowly. His movements were steady, precise, untouched by age in that moment. He adjusted his jacket, hiding the faded ink again. The general stood as well. He extended his hand. Harlan took it, grip firm despite the years. "If you ever need anything," Alden said quietly. "I won't." "I know. But the offer stands." Harlan nodded once. The gesture said more than words ever could. Alden turned to the room. His voice carried authority that needed no volume. "What you witnessed stays here. No photos, no posts, no stories." The diner murmured agreement. This wasn't a request. It was an order from a man whose rank demanded obedience. He walked to the door, then paused. "Joe." The waitress jumped slightly. "Sir, thank you for the message," he said. "You did right." Her face flushed with pride. "Just doing my job, sir. You did more than that." Alden gave her a brief nod, then stepped outside. Harlan moved toward the exit. The bell jingled softly as he pushed the door open. Morning light spilled across his back. For a second, the sleeve lifted. The faint outline of the circle and star glimmered in daylight. Then it was gone, hidden once more. Outside, Cade and Navarro stood by the general's vehicle. Their faces were ashen, bodies rigid. They knew what was coming. Alden approached them slowly. "You're both on report. Harassment of a civilian. Conduct unbecoming." His tone was clinical, detached. "Sir," Cade began. "Speak again, and I add insubordination." Cade's mouth snapped shut. Alden continued. "You'll spend the next month scrubbing every latrine on base. After that, sensitivity training. After that, a formal apology written by hand." Navarro nodded quickly. "Yes, sir. And if I ever hear you've disrespected another veteran," Alden said, voice dropping to steel, "I will personally ensure your discharge is less than honorable." "Clear. Crystal, sir," both men said in unison. "Get in the vehicle." They obeyed without hesitation. Alden turned to Harlan, who stood a few paces away. The old man's face was unreadable. "I wish it hadn't come to this," Alden said. "It always comes to something," Harlan replied. "That's the price." The general saluted one final time. Harlan returned it, slower but no less precise. Then he turned and walked away. His footsteps faded into the hum of the street. No fanfare, no ceremony. Just an old man disappearing into an ordinary day. Alden watched until Harlan was gone. Then he climbed into the vehicle. The engine roared to life, and they drove away. Inside the diner, Jo leaned against the counter. Her heart still raced. She opened her notebook and scrawled a single line. "Closed arrow, never open." She underlined it twice, then closed the book and tucked it away. At Fort Ashridge that evening, Sergeant Knox pinned a note above his desk. It read, "Silence. Return. Nothing more. Nothing less." The mark had resurfaced. Not for glory, not for recognition, but as a reminder of promises never broken. And in a quiet diner on the edge of nowhere, everyone who had been there knew. They had witnessed history walk out the door. The kind of history that doesn't end up in books. The kind that lives in scars and silence. And they would never forget.